Hey folks, in this video, we're going to do an analysis of AMD tonight since it just released earnings. Today is February 3rd, 2026, and the three topics I'm going to cover is one, the technical chart. Obviously, it's helpful to calibrate where price action sits and how it reacted after earnings, followed by then number two, which is to get into the actual earnings analysis or earnings results itself. And then lastly, with three, we'll look at the tech products just to understand the company itself and what product line it's essentially selling. Now, you folks might be wondering, like, well, okay, like all this stuff, it's dry and boring, but you know, believe it or not, if you dive into this stuff long enough, you'll realize that you'll get really used to it, and it's actually you investing up front to, well, potentially find the next trading setup or opportunity or investment or whichever, right? You just never know. So I like to always front load the work here and the results will always come later, as I notice. So, looking at the charts right here, folks, we have the daily chart on AMD, as you can see right here. Obviously, you can't see the earnings results in the chart just yet, but you can see that the purple represents the after hours right here, currently down 8.1% on the daily chart. Meanwhile, it closed at this yellow portion right here, which is at 242. So obviously this one gap down. Obviously you won't see the gap down. What you have to do is zoom in. You zoom into the 5 minute right here. Every candle represents 5 minutes. You can see right here, it's basically gap down to the downside. Yet in the earnings results, it had a record Q4 2025 in terms of revenue. So very interesting how markets react. Again, from what I've seen over the years in earnings, it's always been like a 50-50 thing. You can't really predict it. Maybe like if the environment's really good, things are euphoric, yeah, maybe there's a chance of the upside. But in this case, at the same, if we analyze the current market context right now, things are sluggish, right? I wouldn't say it's rolling over just yet, but overall, the current market condition as of February 3rd, 2026, today, it's slow and, well, it's choppy currently, right? We gave a yellow light this week as well in terms of like my weekly report and analysis. Now, to understand the entity profile real quick as well, now that we understand the charts, right? It's a $390 billion company in terms of enterprise value. So not a small company we're analyzing over here. It has EPS over the several years, so it's been profitable. Obviously, there's a balance sheet to analyze as well. And then you can see the sales right here, in which case 2024, they did about 25 billion in economics. That's a lot of sales, right? Now, this is a pretty healthy business. They take home about 10% with a 44% gross margin. So pretty good. So that's a quick analysis on the chart and a little bit of the entity itself. Nothing too fancy here. I want to keep the video short. But what I want to do next is pivot into part two, which is the analyze the earnings result itself. And again, publicly traded companies, folks, you could always dive into this stuff. It's open to the public, right? You just got to, I guess you could say, us public folks, we have to do the homework, do the due diligence over here. And so let's take a look at the results. So if we dive right into it, nothing fancy here today. They announced results, as you know, right here. Record-breaking 10 billion gross margin, 54%. Operating income of 1.8. Net income was 1.5 billion. Diluted. Okay, cool. Again, this stuff, it could be a little boring for a lot of people, but trust me, like the more you read these numbers, you eventually get a feel of the different sizes of the entities that exist out there, and then you get really confident and understand what plays are out there. But that's something that you can only acquire over time, right? And you have to perform such analysis that we are doing right now. So from a gap, and then there's a non-gap, and there's a nice table right here that breaks down everything. Gap quarterly financial results you see right here on the revenue side, 34% year over year. It looks like, right? So that's essentially the growth rate of the sales. Net income, wow, net income over here up 213%. So that's the take home right there. Perfect. Now, I don't really, I mean, yes, it's helpful to dive into all this, and we could get really deep into everything. But for me, typically, again, if I'm analyzing quickly, I always like to just understand, like, okay, how much sales are they doing? Is it, did they do a breakout amount of sales? What's the growth rate of the sales? And then I like to jump into the balance sheet real quick and just understand the cash because, to me, it's like if you have cash, you could do things as a corporation, right? So as of December 27, 2025, end of year last year, just last year, they got about 5 billion in cash, altogether about 10 billion in almost liquid cash right here. So short-term investments, another 5 billion right there. So all overall, 26, 27 billion in current assets, right? I mean, of course, you do the accounting and count all this stuff, but yeah, you don't always have to. But it's good practice, to be honest, right? So that's the earnings right there, folks. You saw it, right? They could do really well, but the stock, as you can see right here, performance wise, jumping down to the 5 minute, again on the chart, once it loads, there we go. You can see it's still, well, it's not actionable. So what's likely to happen next? Well, that's another conversation. But what I want to dive into next is the financial results over here because they actually put out a presentation as well, right? I tend to breeze through these, and I was reading it tonight, and I figured, well, why not make a video so that everyone else could learn with me? So I'm going to read through this, share with you like how I analyze things. 34 slides. We'll try to go through it quick. Hopefully, it's not too boring for you folks. Again, I'm learning with you guys, and I think it's a powerful thing, I would say. So, AMD, our journey over here, leadership product portfolio. They're going to go over it seems, expanding customer and partner ecosystem. Right? How do they go to market and get customers? Data center and AI growth. Right? Probably their core TAM right there, or their core target market. Strong financial foundation. So let's dive right into it. So at a high level, right? If you don't know what AMD does, I think they always try to communicate what they do, and this is a strategic pillars slide right here. So they do everything from powering AI and high performance compute everywhere. So on the far left side, we got what? Extend compute technology leadership. So everything from these GPUs, right? All these XYZ PUs, processing units, networking, system on chip, and chiplets and packaging. So that's one pillar right there. The other pillar, right? So the chips are straightforward. I mean, in this day and age, AI, right? You need all these chips, China, Taiwan, et cetera, et cetera. NVIDIA, don't forget about that one. Expand data center leadership, right? Same pivot as NVIDIA as well. Okay, so data centers are important. Why are they important? Everybody likes AI these days, and this AI or AI applications have to be online somehow, and these data centers are basically what powers it. So these are the physical cluster data centers, and that's the target market for them. So everything from cloud, enterprise, rack scale solutions, etc. It looks like. And then a third one here, they do. It looks like they do have some software as well, open software platforms and developer enablement, followed by powering AI everywhere. So high performance, adaptive, and custom AI platforms. Right now, we basically understand the pillars of this entity profile, which is AMD. Jumping into the next one, large growth opportunities across a diverse set of markets. So obviously, they mentioned data centers already, but client and gaming is another important category for GTM. And then embedded over here. Embedded looks like industry's broadest portfolio of adaptive embedded computing platforms. Right. So I'm guessing like maybe very specific robotic devices where their chips are embedded into that. So it looks like you got all these chips over here. Yep. Okay. Cool. So those are different categories. Diverse set of markets. Perfect. Jumping into the revenue right here, they talk about the record-breaking, 10.3 billion increase, which is 34% year over year, as we saw earlier. Growth driven by broad-based demand across data center and client and gaming segments. So data center is hot. I mean, we're not surprised, right? Beginning of 2026 here, Elon Musk building the world's largest AI data center. This is no surprise to me. So sales is going up for them, and this is an entity that is benefiting from that. Gross margin wise, gross margin from a GAAP, non-GAAP, right? Accounting principles over here. So 54% versus 51%. So that's looking pretty good. Um, I get into operating income, all that stuff, but I'm just going to skip ahead here. Again, I do encourage you folks to really dive into each one and learn. Because once you understand like the basics, then you can really bring this basic knowledge to every other company. And it gets really repetitive in a good way because you're gonna just be able to analyze things so much quicker. So this is a summary of their P&L, right? Again, if we were to consider such an entity, we want to understand their P&L for sure. Revenue they already mentioned, gross margin. Okay, so same thing, which is in a table format now. So very nice. We'll keep going down. Non-GAAP, GAAP, right? Accounting principle, non-accounting principle, generally accepted accounting principle. That's what GAAP stands for. Segment results. Okay, this is actually interesting right here. So out of the 10.3 billion, where does the all the money actually come from? Now I'm interested in this because, you know, we could talk about embedded, but embedded over here for that market, it's like 1.23 billion, right? And then over here for client gaming, that one is like about 4, let's say 4.67 or 4.6 or 7 billion. And the majority of it right here, it looks like it's going to be this one right here, right? So this is the majority, which is, oh, I'm sorry, we're looking at net revenue. I was counting both of them. So 5.3, 3.9, and 950 million in revenue for each of the three categories right here. So data center is just big business for them, which is good to know. And that specifically 39%, right? The aggregate, if I recall, was 34%. Cool. Revenue right here, you see the difference. Okay, yep, just quarter revenue, or I'm sorry, fiscal year FY 2025 revenue compared to 2024. Going down over here, gross margin, right? Just margin again, diluted EPS. We're going to skip that one. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, these are just more tables. The cash we talked about. So cash equivalents right here, about 10 billion in cash, right? Understand where the entity stands in terms of their cash liquidity, 3 billion in debt, inventory about 7.9 billion. Again, you could go and look at what they count as inventory as well, and then have yet account receivables 6.3 billion. Okay, cool. Data center segment. Oh, it actually gets into the details of this. It's actually very nice. But I want to make sure this video doesn't go too long, so we're going to skip some of these. I do encourage you to analyze. Personally, for me, I love just going through this to get a feel and know that, hey, I put in the hours or the time here going through these and just understand it. So here's a nice summary of everything we just read. It's good to see. What's the maybe closing comments here? Revenue growth driven by broad-based demand across our data center and client and gaming segments. Okay. Corporate responsibility, all right, the ESG stuff, AMD, our momentum. So, in summary, right, I guess this is about the towards the end right here. In summary, large and compelling TAM, technology leadership, expanding data center AI leadership, world class execution and focus, and a strong balance sheet. Perfect. Driving long term value for shareholders. And then let's see. And then the rest is pretty much more of the structure table data. Okay. Last but not least, I know it could be a lot of content, but last but not least, we don't have to go through this whole thing, right? It's just a lot, but we just want to get a high level understanding of how they operate. And sometimes you got to get a little bit dirty with the technical stuff. I have to admit. So leadership core IP, the CPU, GPU, NPU, DPU, FPGA. That's where they operate. Common foundational IP. So they got all this stuff right here, right? Infinity fabric, interconnect, et cetera, et cetera. Product portfolio driving revenue growth. Data center. Yep. Okay, cool. We read that. It looks like semi custom, and then it goes into what they delivered. We're accelerating optimize AI across portfolio, leadership CPU core roadmap. So look at this 5 nanometer, 4 nanometer, 4 nanometer, 3 nanometer. Okay, so by 2026, industry first 2 nanometer extension of leadership. So Zen 6, they call it. And then later on, future node right here, next generation, new matrix engine, AI data platform. So it seems like we're somewhere right here. Now I got to look into this one right here, right? The industry's first 2 nanometer. Does that mean more business for another semiconductor company like ASML? Well, we got yet to analyze that. Let's continue. See what else they have in here. Let's see. This one was leadership CPU core roadmap, followed by leadership CPU core wait. Oh, sorry. There you go. Followed by AMD Instinct Data Center GPU architecture roadmap. So rack scale architecture. So this is a different technical component. Let's go down. Accelerated GPU performance gains, flop rates, FP4, FP8. Again, there's a lot of stuff that I don't expect everyone to understand in here, but that's essentially how we learn, folks. We introduce unknown concepts that in our minds right now, when we hear it, we're just like, what the heck is this? But the more you see it, you start to double click, you read the definitions, et cetera, and you just start to learn. So these are the exact specific things that I'm trying to point out, which is the hard stuff you have to be exposed to learn it and to get used to it. So even myself, right? And this is really a really good practice. And that's why I look forward to making these videos. High speed, SerDes, I don't even know what this is. Interconnect. I'll have to look into this one, right? This is new to me, but it looks like these are speed today and then next generation. Cool. Um, AMD Infinity Fabric Roadmap. Looks like they got something here. Scale up. This is a very specific one, so we'll just keep going. Again, I just want to be exposed at a high level today. Chiplet and packaging leadership, it looks like right here. So 30x compute and memory area. Let's go down. Helios rack. So this is an example of what it looks like. Link at rack scale, scale up, scale out, hardware, software application, co-optimization. Okay. This goes more into the servers, it looks like, or the racks. Let's see. We got their CPU, their AI NICs. Okay, let's keep going. Learning something new every day. Trusted computing. So how is it? Storage, smart NICs, and then this one's accelerators. Right, some of the engineering stuff right here. Again, this is probably the more technical part. I don't expect folks to to follow at all, but I love to expose myself to this. AI beyond the data center. So what else? One software stack enables AI from cloud edge, AI models and algorithms. So you see all the popular projects or stuff, PyTorch and stuff like that out there. Libraries, compilers and tools, runtime, got it. And then train once, infer area everywhere. Beautiful. Investment for the future. So data centers, obviously, there, compute leadership. Agentic AI, so leadership CPUs to accelerate agents. That makes a lot of sense. Edge AI explosion. So integrated CPU, GPU at the edge. Physical AI, right? All these robots are pre-training right now in the omniverse, you could say. And then quantum computing over here, right? Oh, another big category. We have yet to see. Innovation for the AI era. So okay, got it. And then that's pretty much it. Anyways, folks, I know that was a lot, but what we just covered is basically a pretty decent high level analysis of AMD here, where we went across the number one, technical charts, followed by the earnings results, as you saw. And then lastly, number three, which is quite technical, but the engineering products that they have. Hope you folks enjoy, and thanks so much for hearing me out today.